"Sir, step away from the woman." The command cut across the parking lot just as Marcus Carter opened the door of his dark pickup, but for one suspended second, he did not understand that the officer was speaking to him. Marcus had seen confusion before. He had walked into rooms where one wrong decision could change everything. He had spent years training himself to notice details other people missed. Yet nothing in that training prepared him for what waited 30 feet away beneath the flashing red and blue lights. His mother, Evelyn Carter, was lying motionless on the pavement beside a faded yellow parking line. A brown grocery bag rested several feet from her. A carton of eggs sat on its side. A loaf of bread had slipped halfway from its wrapper. One orange had rolled almost to the curb, bright beneath the cold white light of a convenience store sign. Marcus stopped. The summer evening was warm, nearly 80 degrees, but something inside him went suddenly cold. Officer Ryan Cole stood near Evelyn with one hand hovering beside his duty belt. His partner, Travis Miller, was closer to the patrol car, speaking rapidly into his radio. 3 people watched from the sidewalk. A young woman held her phone upright, recording. Nobody spoke. Even the traffic beyond the intersection seemed impossibly far away. Marcus looked at his mother's shoes first. White sneakers. The same pair she wore every Saturday because she insisted expensive shoes were a waste of money. Then he saw the silver bracelet around her wrist, the one his father had given her 37 years earlier. There could be no mistake. "Mom?" The word barely left him. No answer came. Marcus took one step forward. Cole immediately straightened. "I said stay back." Marcus stopped again. His shoulders were broad beneath a plain gray t-shirt, his posture naturally controlled, but his hands slowly opened at his sides where everyone could see them. He looked at Cole's badge. Then Miller's body camera. Then the black security camera mounted above the store entrance. Finally, his eyes settled on the woman filming from the sidewalk. 4 witnesses, he thought. Maybe 5. Cameras changed everything. Cole watched him carefully. "Who are you?" Marcus did not answer immediately. His eyes returned to Evelyn. 11 minutes earlier, she had called him from this very store, laughing because he was late again. She had told him she bought the peach pie he liked and warned him not to make her stand outside waiting. He had smiled behind the wheel and promised, "Give me 10 minutes, Mom." He had arrived in 9. Now the pie box was visible inside the fallen grocery bag, one corner bent against the pavement. Something tightened behind Marcus's ribs, but his expression barely moved. Years of discipline held him where anger wanted to carry him. The young woman with the phone whispered to someone beside her, "That's her son." Cole glanced toward her. That tiny distraction was enough for Marcus to see the uncertainty in his face. Not fear. Not yet. Uncertainty. Marcus took another measured breath and looked directly at the officer. "Turn on every camera you have." Cole's jaw tightened. "Don't tell me how to do my job." Marcus lowered his eyes toward his mother again. When he spoke, his voice was quieter. "Then don't turn any of them off." Somewhere behind them, a siren grew louder. Marcus remained perfectly still as red light swept across his face, disappeared, then returned and blew. He had spent much of his adult life learning how to survive dangerous moments. Tonight, standing 30 feet from the woman who had raised him, he understood that the hardest thing he had ever been trained to do was not move. And 11 minutes earlier, none of this had happened yet. 11 minutes earlier, Evelyn Carter stood beneath the humming fluorescent lights of Parker Market, balancing a small paper bag against her hip while she searched her purse for her reading glasses. At 68, she moved with the deliberate patience of someone who had stopped letting the world hurry her. Her silver-streaked hair was tucked beneath a pale blue scarf, and her white sneakers made soft sounds against the polished tile. The cashier smiled when Evelyn placed a peach pie on the counter. "Special occasion?" Evelyn smiled back. My son finally remembered he has a mother. The cashier laughed, and Evelyn did too, warm and easy, before her phone began vibrating inside her purse. She found it beneath a folded grocery list. Marcus. You are late, she said immediately. Marcus Carter was driving along Jefferson Avenue, less than 2 miles away, one hand steady on the wheel. I said 6:30. And it is 6:32. That is barely late. That is exactly late. Marcus smiled. No matter how many years passed, his mother could still make him feel 16 with 3 words. I am coming. Give me 10 minutes, Mom. Evelyn looked through the front windows at the fading summer light. 10 minutes. I bought the peach pie you like, so do not make me stand outside until it becomes breakfast. Stay there. I am coming. Drive carefully. The call ended. Evelyn slipped the phone into her purse and thanked the cashier. Outside, the evening carried the warmth of a long summer day, with the temperature still near 80 degrees. Cars moved steadily through the intersection. Somewhere nearby, music played through an open window. Evelyn stepped onto the sidewalk carrying bread, eggs, oranges, and the pie she had bought because Marcus rarely asked for anything and she still remembered every food he loved as a boy. She had reached the edge of the parking lot when a patrol car turned in from Jefferson Avenue. It moved slowly behind her before stopping near the curb. Evelyn glanced toward it, then continued walking. A door opened. Ma'am. She stopped and turned. Officer Ryan Cole approached from the driver's side while Officer Travis Miller remained near the passenger door. Both men were white, younger than Evelyn by decades, their uniforms dark against the evening light. Evelyn waited. Cole studied her for a moment before speaking. Where are you headed? I am waiting for my son. Where are you coming from? Evelyn looked toward the store behind her. Right there. Cole's eyes moved to the bag in her hand. Do you have identification? The question surprised her, but she kept her voice even. Yes, officer. May I ask why? Cole did not answer immediately. His radio murmured against his shoulder, a stream of numbers and clipped voices disappearing into static. Identification, please. Evelyn felt something change in the air. Not enough to name. Just enough to notice. She placed the grocery bag carefully beside her feet and reached slowly toward her purse. Across the parking lot, Rachel Bennett was walking toward her car when she noticed the exchange. She slowed. Evelyn opened her purse. My wallet is inside, she said. Cole's posture stiffened. Keep your hands where I can see them. Evelyn immediately stopped moving. Officer, you asked for my identification. Miller looked toward Cole, then toward Evelyn. For a moment, nobody moved. The convenience store door opened behind them, releasing a brief wave of cool air and fluorescent light before closing again. Evelyn's phone remained silent inside her purse. Marcus was less than 2 miles away. She looked at Cole and spoke with the same calm voice she had used with her son moments earlier. Tell me what you need me to do, and I will do it. Rachel Bennett stopped beside her car. Something about Evelyn's careful stillness made her uneasy. She reached into her pocket, took out her phone, and quietly pressed record. Rachel Bennett kept her phone low enough that it would not draw attention, but the camera captured everything clearly. Evelyn standing beside the grocery bag, Officer Ryan Cole facing her from several feet away, and Officer Travis Miller lingering near the patrol car as though he had not yet decided whether the situation required his involvement. I am going to reach for my wallet now, Evelyn said carefully. Cole's eyes narrowed. Slowly. Evelyn moved one hand toward the open purse. She did not rush. Her fingers found the worn leather wallet Marcus had given her for Christmas 3 years earlier, and she lifted it into view. Here it is. Cole took the identification card and studied it longer than seemed necessary. Evelyn Carter. 68 years old. Local address. Nothing about the card explained why she was standing beneath flashing patrol lights with groceries cooling beside her feet. "Is there a problem?" she asked. Cole looked up. "We had a report from this area." "About me?" "I am asking the questions." The words landed harder than their volume suggested. Evelyn became quiet. She had spent 32 years working as an elementary school secretary, calming frightened children, impatient parents, and adults who believed speaking louder made them more correct. She understood the difference between authority and anger. She also understood when someone had already decided what kind of person stood in front of him. "Officer," she said, "I am not trying to make your job difficult. I would simply like to understand why I was stopped." Miller shifted his weight. "Ryan, maybe we should confirm the description." Cole did not look at him. "I know what the call said." Rachel heard that and raised her phone slightly. A second witness, an older man standing near the store entrance, had stopped pretending not to watch. The evening suddenly felt smaller, as though the parking lot had become a room and everyone inside it was waiting for the same door to open. Cole returned Evelyn's identification but did not dismiss her. "Stay right here. My son is coming to pick me up. Then he can wait." Evelyn glanced toward Jefferson Avenue. Marcus should have been close now. The thought steadied her. "May I call him?" Cole shook his head. "Not yet." Rachel frowned behind her phone. Evelyn had answered every question. She had shown identification. She had not raised her voice. Still, the patrol lights continued painting the storefront red, then blue, then red again. Cole stepped toward his vehicle and spoke quietly into his radio. Miller remained behind. For the first time, he looked directly at Evelyn rather than through her. "Just stay calm, ma'am." Evelyn gave him a tired expression. "I am calm." Miller had no answer. Cole returned less than a minute later. "Put your purse on the ground." Evelyn hesitated, not from defiance but confusion. "Why?" "Put it down." She obeyed. The purse settled beside the groceries. One orange shifted inside the paper bag and pressed against the thin brown paper. Rachel moved a few feet closer. Cole noticed her at last. "Are you recording?" "Yes." "Why?" Rachel held the phone steady. "Because I can." Silence followed. Cole looked from Rachel to Evelyn, then toward the security camera above Parker Market. For the first time, his confidence seemed to flicker. Evelyn saw it too. She took a quiet breath and looked toward the road. In the distance, beyond the intersection, a dark pickup turned onto Jefferson Avenue. The dark pickup was still half a mile away when the tension in the parking lot changed. Evelyn could not know Marcus was behind the wheel, but she recognized the shape of his truck in the distance and felt a small measure of relief. "My son is almost here," she said. Officer Ryan Cole followed her gaze, then looked back at her with an expression that had grown colder since Rachel Bennett began recording. "I told you to stay where you are." "I am standing exactly where you told me." Cole stepped closer. "Then keep your hands visible." Evelyn lifted both hands slightly, palms open. Her purse remained on the pavement beside the groceries. Her identification had already been checked. Still, nothing seemed to move the encounter toward an ending. Travis Miller glanced toward his partner. "Ryan, dispatch can verify the original call." Cole ignored him. "Ma'am, turn around." Evelyn blinked. "For what reason?" "Turn around." Her eyes moved briefly toward Rachel, then toward the security camera above Parker Market. She seemed to understand that whatever happened next would not disappear into somebody else's version of events. "I have cooperated with you," Evelyn said. "I gave you my identification. I answered your questions. I have not threatened anyone." Her voice was calm, but exhaustion had entered it. Cole's jaw tightened. "Stop arguing." I am not arguing. I am asking you to explain. The older man near the store entrance shifted uneasily. Rachel kept recording. Miller looked down for a moment, and that small movement disturbed Evelyn more than anything Cole had said. She turned as instructed. The grocery bag brushed her ankle. The thin paper finally gave way at one corner, and an orange slipped through, dropped onto the pavement, and rolled slowly across the yellow parking line. Evelyn watched it travel several feet before stopping beneath the alternating red and blue light. Such an ordinary thing. An orange she had chosen because Marcus always complained the ones he bought were too sour. Please, she said quietly, my son is coming. There is no need for this. Cole spoke behind her. Keep facing forward. Rachel took another step closer. She has done everything you asked. Cole turned sharply toward her. Stay out of this. I am standing on a public sidewalk. Then stand farther back. Rachel did not move. Her phone remained steady. Miller finally spoke with more urgency. Ryan, let us wait for confirmation. Cole looked at him. I have it under control. Miller's face tightened. That is not what I said. For 1 second, the two officers stared at each other, and Evelyn heard something beneath the silence, doubt. Cole's radio crackled. A dispatcher's voice came through, distorted but understandable enough. The person officers had originally been asked to locate was younger. Different clothing. Different height. Miller reached toward his shoulder microphone. Dispatch, repeat the age. Cole raised a hand. I heard it. Evelyn slowly turned her head. Then you know it is not me. Nobody answered. The pickup was closer now, moving through the intersection less than a quarter-mile away. Evelyn could almost imagine Marcus complaining about the traffic. She drew a careful breath. Officer Cole, may I pick up my purse? No, may I sit down? Stay where you are. Evelyn closed her eyes for half a second. When she opened them, the parking lot seemed painfully bright. Rachel noticed the change in her face. Ma'am, are you feeling all right? Evelyn tried to answer, but her voice came out thinner than before. I just need a moment. Miller stepped forward. Ryan. Cole's attention shifted between Evelyn, Rachel, the security camera, and the approaching truck. Too many eyes. Too many questions. Evelyn swayed slightly and reached instinctively toward the grocery bag for balance. Cole reacted to the movement with another sharp command. Rachel's phone captured his voice, Miller's sudden protest, and Evelyn saying one final sentence with remarkable calm. I am trying to do exactly what you asked. Then the grocery bag tipped over. The peach pie slid against the pavement. Evelyn sank out of Rachel's frame, and the parking lot went silent. Miller immediately called for medical assistance. Rachel moved forward, but Cole ordered everyone back. At that exact moment, the dark pickup turned into Parker Market, and Marcus Carter saw the flashing lights before he saw his mother. Marcus Carter turned into Parker Market expecting to see his mother standing beneath the bright store sign with one hand on her hip and that familiar look that said he had kept her waiting too long. Instead, he saw flashing lights, a small crowd, and a grocery bag scattered near the yellow parking line. His foot eased from the accelerator. Then he saw the white sneakers. Everything inside him went quiet. Marcus parked without remembering doing it and opened the door. Mom? Officer Ryan Cole turned immediately. Sir, stay back. Marcus barely heard him. His eyes moved across the scene with an instinct built over years of military service. Evelyn was on the pavement. Travis Miller was speaking urgently into his radio, requesting medical assistance. Rachel Bennett stood near the sidewalk with her phone raised. Above the store entrance, a security camera pointed directly toward the parking lot. Cole's body camera sat against his uniform. Miller had one too. Marcus stopped roughly 30 feet from his mother. Every part of him wanted to close that distance. Discipline told him to understand the scene first. "That is my mother," he said. Cole lifted one hand. "You need to stay where you are." Marcus looked at Evelyn again. The peach pie box rested beside the torn grocery bag. Bread. Eggs. Oranges. One orange sat alone several feet away, glowing beneath alternating red and blue light. 11 minutes earlier, Evelyn had been joking with him about that pie. Now nobody was laughing. "What happened?" Marcus asked. Cole answered quickly. "We were conducting an investigation. She failed to follow instructions and then experienced a medical emergency." Rachel's expression changed immediately. Marcus noticed. "Is that what happened?" he asked, looking toward her. Cole stepped slightly into his line of sight. "Do not involve yourself in an active scene." Marcus slowly raised both hands where everyone could see them. "I am not interfering." His voice remained controlled. "I am asking about my mother." Miller looked over from his radio. His face carried none of Cole's certainty. "Paramedics are 2 minutes out." Marcus nodded once. 2 minutes. He had lived through minutes that felt like hours, but this one seemed larger than all of them. Cole watched him carefully. Identification. Marcus reached toward his back pocket, then stopped before touching it. "I am reaching for my wallet." Rachel's phone remained pointed toward them. Marcus removed the wallet slowly, took out his driver's license, and held it forward. Cole examined it. The name meant nothing to him. Marcus Carter. 42. Local address. Just another man standing in a parking lot. "You military?" Cole asked after noticing the veteran designation. Marcus met his eyes. "Former." "What branch?" "Army." Marcus did not offer anything else. Delta Force had taught him many things, but one lesson mattered now more than any other: never give anger control of the room. Cole handed back the license. "Then you understand following instructions." The words hung between them. Rachel lowered her phone half an inch in disbelief. Miller looked sharply toward Cole. Marcus simply returned the wallet to his pocket. "I understand accountability," he said. Cole's expression hardened. Marcus looked past him toward Evelyn. "Are your body cameras recording?" Nobody answered immediately. "Officer Miller?" Marcus asked. Miller touched the device on his uniform. "Mine is." Marcus turned his eyes toward Cole's camera, then toward the security camera above the entrance, then Rachel's phone. His breathing slowed. The situation had changed. Not because Marcus knew how to overpower anyone. Not because of the life he had lived before this parking lot. It changed because the truth had witnesses. "Nobody touches those recordings," Marcus said. Cole took a step forward. "You do not give orders here." Marcus remained still. In the distance, sirens grew louder. He looked at Cole without raising his voice. "Then consider it a request you will be very glad you honored." The ambulance turned into the parking lot moments later. Paramedics moved quickly toward Evelyn while Marcus stayed exactly where he had been told to stand. Only when Miller finally nodded did Marcus approach. He knelt beside his mother, careful not to interfere with the medical team, and saw her silver bracelet catching the emergency lights. His hand hovered near hers before gently closing around it. The hands that had once carried him through childhood felt strangely still. Marcus lowered his head. Behind him, Cole began explaining the incident to another arriving officer. Rachel listened for several seconds before stepping forward, her phone still recording. "That is not what happened," she said. "That is not what happened," Rachel Bennett said again, louder this time, and the words seemed to change the temperature of the parking lot. Officer Ryan Cole turned toward her while Marcus remained beside his mother, one knee against the warm pavement, his hand gently holding hers. The paramedics worked around Evelyn with calm urgency, speaking in short professional phrases Marcus understood but could barely process. He had spent years learning how to separate emotion from action, how to breathe when every instinct demanded movement, but none of those lessons had been designed for this. "Ma'am, step back," Cole told Rachel. "I am already back," she replied. Her phone stayed raised. "And I recorded what happened." Cole stared at the device. Marcus noticed that before he noticed anything else. Not the words. The reaction. A small tightening around Cole's mouth. A glance toward the security camera above Parker Market. Then another glance toward Travis Miller. Marcus lowered his eyes to Evelyn. Her silver bracelet rested against his fingers. He remembered buying her a newer one 2 Christmases ago, something expensive and polished, only for her to return it and tell him his father's old gift was the only bracelet she needed. "Save your money," she had said. "You cannot buy history." Now those words came back with painful clarity. One of the paramedics touched Marcus lightly on the shoulder. "Sir, we need some room." Marcus released his mother's hand immediately and stood. Every movement was deliberate. Cole was watching him. So were several newly arrived officers. Marcus could feel the expectation surrounding him, the silent assumption that grief would become anger and anger would become something they could control. He refused to give them that moment. "Officer Cole," Marcus said quietly. Cole turned. "What?" "You said my mother failed to follow instructions." "That is correct." Rachel shook her head. "No, it is not." Marcus never looked away from Cole. "Then the recordings will tell us." Cole folded his arms. "You need to let us handle this." Marcus took one slow breath. "I am letting you handle it." His voice dropped even lower. "I am also making sure nobody gets to rewrite it." The sirens faded as the ambulance doors closed. Marcus watched the vehicle pull away, carrying Evelyn towards St. Matthew Medical Center. For the first time since arriving, his composure almost fractured. His shoulders lowered. His fingers curled once, then opened again. He wanted to follow the ambulance immediately, but he forced himself to remain for 10 more seconds. 10 seconds to remember the cameras. 10 seconds to remember the witnesses. 10 seconds to choose what kind of man would leave this parking lot. Rachel stepped closer and spoke softly. "Mr. Carter, I have the entire thing." Marcus looked at her phone. "Do not send me the only copy." Rachel understood instantly. "I will back it up. More than once." "I will." Miller approached from several feet away. He looked pale beneath the flashing lights. "Mr. Carter." Marcus turned toward him. Miller hesitated. "My camera was running." Cole looked sharply at his partner. Marcus caught the exchange. "From the beginning?" Miller swallowed. "From before she opened her purse." Silence settled over them. The store sign hummed. Traffic moved beyond the intersection. Somewhere near Marcus's boot, the lone orange remained beside the yellow line. He bent down and picked it up. The peel was dusty but unbroken. For a moment, he simply held it in his palm. Then he looked at Cole. There was no threat in Marcus's face now, only something steadier and far more difficult to dismiss. "My mother taught me that strength is what you control when you have every reason to lose it." Cole said nothing. Marcus placed the orange carefully inside the damaged grocery bag, lifted the peach pie from the pavement, and walked toward his truck. Behind him, Rachel began backing up her recording. Miller stood beneath the patrol lights with his body camera still running. Cole remained silent. Marcus opened the driver's door, but before getting inside, he looked once toward the black security camera above the store entrance. 3 recordings. Several witnesses. One truth. Then he started the engine and followed the ambulance toward the hospital. The emergency room doors closed behind Evelyn Carter, leaving Marcus alone beneath the cold white lights of St. Matthew Medical Center. He stood there holding the damaged grocery bag in one hand and the peach pie in the other, ordinary things that suddenly felt heavier than anything he had carried in years. A nurse asked him to wait. Marcus nodded and sat near the end of a row of blue vinyl chairs. He placed the groceries beside his boots and stared at the orange visible through the torn paper. His phone vibrated. Rachel Bennett had sent a message. 3 copies saved. Original untouched. Marcus read it twice before replying with 2 words. Thank you. Another message arrived almost immediately, this one from an unfamiliar number. Mr. Carter, this is Officer Miller. My body camera recorded the encounter. Marcus did not answer. Across town, the first version of the incident was already being written. Cole told Sergeant Daniel Hayes that Evelyn had been uncooperative, that her movements had created uncertainty, and that the situation had escalated before she experienced a medical crisis. Hayes listened without interrupting. He was 51, broad-shouldered, gray beginning to show at his temples, and he had spent enough years wearing a badge to recognize when a report sounded polished before the facts were settled. You said she refused instructions? Hayes asked. Repeatedly, Cole replied. Miller stood several feet away. Hayes looked at him. Officer Miller? Miller hesitated. She asked questions. Cole turned. She resisted the process. That is not what he asked, Hayes said. The room went quiet. Hayes requested both body camera recordings. Then he requested the Parker Market security footage. Cole's confidence shifted. Sergeant, we already know what happened. Hayes looked at him for a long second. Then the video should make this easy. At the hospital, Marcus's phone rang again. This time the caller identification read Daniel Hayes. Marcus stepped into an empty hallway before answering. Marcus Carter. Silence came from the other end. Then Hayes said, Marcus? Something in the voice made Marcus straighten. Who is this? Daniel Hayes. Marcus searched his memory. The name belonged to another life. Fort Bragg. Training ranges. Long nights measured by coffee and exhaustion. Hayes had been Army before becoming a police officer, though they had not spoken in nearly 15 years. Danny Hayes? Marcus asked. Hayes exhaled slowly. I heard the name on the incident report. I thought it might be you. Marcus looked through the narrow window in the emergency room doors. It is my mother. Hayes went silent again. He knew enough about Marcus Carter to understand what those 4 words carried. Years earlier, Marcus had served in one of the Army's most selective special operations units. Among men who rarely praised anyone, his reputation had traveled farther than his name ever appeared in public. But Hayes also remembered something else. Marcus had always been the calmest man when everyone else became loud. I am reviewing everything, Hayes said. Do not review it because you know me. Marcus's answer came immediately. Review it because she deserves the same truth if her son were nobody. Hayes lowered his eyes. Understood. Marcus continued. There is a civilian recording. Parker Market has a camera facing the lot. Miller says his body camera was running before she opened her purse. Hayes glanced toward Cole through the glass wall of the station interview room. How do you know that? Because I asked before anyone had time to forget. Hayes almost smiled, but there was nothing amusing about the night. You have not changed. Tonight I have. A doctor appeared at the far end of Marcus's hallway. His expression was careful, professional, and solemn. Marcus felt the world narrow around him. I have to go, he said. He ended the call before Hayes could answer. The doctor approached slowly. Mr. Carter? Marcus stood. Yes. The doctor paused. Marcus already understood. His hand found the back of the chair beside him, not because he was falling, but because suddenly he needed something solid beneath his fingers. The doctor spoke gently. Evelyn had not survived the medical emergency. For several seconds Marcus heard nothing except the ventilation system above him. No battlefield memory came. No anger. Only his mother's voice from less than an hour earlier. 10 minutes. I bought the peach pie you like. Marcus closed his eyes. Back at the station, Hayes opened Miller's body camera file. The first image showed Evelyn standing beside her groceries, hands visible, voice calm. 30 seconds later, Hayes stopped the recording and looked through the glass at Cole. The first lie had already broken. By sunrise, the truth existed in 3 places, and none of them belonged to Ryan Cole. Sergeant Daniel Hayes watched Miller's body camera recording from beginning to end, then watched it again without sound. Evelyn Carter appeared beneath the parking lot lights with her groceries beside her, answering questions, showing identification, and repeatedly asking what officers needed her to do. Nothing in the footage matched the certainty of Cole's first account. Hayes requested Cole's recording next. Then Parker Market delivered its security video. Rachel Bennett provided her original file through an attorney after preserving multiple copies. 3 angles. 3 clocks. 1 sequence of events. Hayes sat alone in the station review room as morning light pressed through the blinds. On his desk lay Cole's written statement. He read 1 sentence, looked at the paused image of Evelyn, and drew a line beneath the words. Across town, Marcus had not slept. He sat at his mother's kitchen table wearing the same gray shirt from the night before. The peach pie remained unopened near the refrigerator. Evelyn's reading glasses rested beside a church bulletin, and a handwritten grocery list lay beneath them. Bread. Eggs. Oranges. Peach pie for Marcus. He touched the final words with 1 finger and closed his eyes. His phone had not stopped ringing. Former soldiers. Reporters. Attorneys. Friends he had not heard from in years. Someone had learned about his military background, and by 8 that morning strangers online were already calling him a Delta Force legend. Marcus hated the phrase. It turned grief into spectacle. When Hayes called, Marcus answered immediately. The recordings contradict Cole's initial statement, Hayes said. Marcus stared at his mother's empty chair. All of them? Yes. Then preserve all of them. Already done. Hayes paused. Internal Affairs has been notified. The district attorney's office will receive the evidence. Cole and Miller are being removed from field duty while the investigation proceeds. Marcus said nothing for several seconds. Hayes expected anger. Instead Marcus asked, "What did Miller do after my mother said she needed a moment?" Hayes looked toward his notes. He questioned Cole's decisions. He requested medical assistance immediately when she went down. Marcus absorbed that quietly. Then do not make him responsible for something the evidence does not show. Hayes leaned back. You are protecting him? No. I am protecting the truth. Marcus's voice remained low. If Miller failed her, investigate that. If Cole failed her, investigate that. But do not give me a convenient villain when the cameras can give you facts. Hayes looked through the glass wall toward the station hallway. A lot of people are angry. So am I. The media will want you to say something. Marcus looked again at the grocery list. They will get something. That afternoon, he stood outside St. Matthew Medical Center beneath a gray sky while microphones gathered several feet away. He wore no medals. No uniform. No symbols of the life that had made reporters curious. He was simply Evelyn Carter's son. My mother deserves accountability, Marcus said. She does not need revenge performed in her name. The crowd became still. I spent years learning what strength can do. She spent my whole life teaching me when not to use it. So I will not threaten officers. I will not threaten their families. I will not ask anyone to answer injustice with more injustice. Preserve the evidence. Tell the truth. Apply the law equally. That is what I am asking. A reporter called out, "Do you want Officer Cole punished?" Marcus looked directly toward the cameras. "I want the facts proven first. Then I want the consequences the law requires." Hours later, Hayes watched that statement from his office. Cole sat elsewhere in the building with an attorney. Miller had submitted a supplemental statement acknowledging that Evelyn had complied with several instructions and that he had urged Cole to verify the original description. Rachel's recording had been formally secured. Parker Market's footage had been copied and authenticated. The story could no longer depend on who wore the badge or who had the louder voice. That evening, Marcus returned to his mother's house. He opened the refrigerator and finally saw what Evelyn had prepared for him, a covered plate with a handwritten note taped to the top. "Eat before the pie. You are 42, not 12. Marcus laughed once before the sound broke into silence. He sat at the table and pressed the note between his palms. For the first time since the parking lot, he allowed himself to cry. Outside, the world was demanding justice. Inside, Marcus understood the harder truth. Justice could punish what happened, but it could never give him those 10 minutes back. 6 months later, Marcus Carter stood beneath a clear autumn sky while wind moved softly through the oak trees surrounding Evergreen Memorial Cemetery. The investigation had taken longer than the public expected and exactly as long as Marcus feared. Every recording had been reviewed. Witnesses had been interviewed separately. Dispatch records had been compared with body camera timestamps. Parker Market's security footage had been authenticated. Rachel Bennett had testified about what she saw, and Travis Miller had given investigators a complete account of the moments when he questioned Cole's decisions. The evidence established what Marcus had demanded from the beginning, not a convenient story, but a documented one. Ryan Cole lost the badge he had once treated like an answer to every question and faced the legal consequences determined through the justice system. Miller also faced formal review for the choices he made and the moments when he should have intervened sooner. Sergeant Daniel Hayes requested changes to department procedures involving identification stops, supervisor review, and preservation of body camera footage. None of it brought Evelyn back. Marcus understood that better than anyone. Newspapers called the outcome justice. Television anchors called it accountability. People who had never met Evelyn used her name in speeches and public meetings. Marcus rarely watched any of it. To him, Evelyn Carter was not a symbol. She was the woman who called when he forgot to eat. She was the voice that corrected his grammar even after he turned 40. She was peach pie on Saturday evenings, church bulletins on the kitchen table, and reading glasses forever disappearing inside an oversized purse. On this quiet morning, Marcus carried no medals and wore no uniform. He had on a dark jacket, jeans, and the same boots he had worn hundreds of ordinary times before his life divided itself into before and after. In one hand he carried a small paper bag. He stopped before Evelyn's grave and remained there without speaking. Her name was carved into the gray stone beneath a simple line chosen from one of her favorite sayings, "Grace is strength with somewhere gentle to go." Marcus lowered himself slowly and brushed a few dry leaves away from the base of the marker. "They told the truth, Mom," he said. His voice was barely louder than the wind. He waited, almost expecting the familiar answer that would never come. "Do not mumble, Marcus. Speak clearly." A faint smile touched his face. Eventually, he added. He opened the paper bag. Inside was a single orange. For months, Marcus had kept remembering the one that rolled from Evelyn's groceries beneath the red and blue lights at Parker Market. Such a small thing had somehow survived in his memory more clearly than the crowds, the reporters, or the courthouse steps. He placed the orange beside the headstone. The bright color looked almost strange against the gray stone and brown autumn grass. His phone vibrated inside his coat. Marcus ignored it. The world could wait. A few yards away, another family moved quietly between the graves. Somewhere beyond the cemetery fence, tires whispered along the highway. Marcus stood with both hands in his pockets and looked at his mother's name. He had spent much of his adult life surrounded by people who believed strength was measured by what a person could endure, command, or defeat. Evelyn had taught him something harder. Strength could also mean refusing to become cruel when cruelty had given you every excuse. It could mean demanding consequences without demanding vengeance. It could mean protecting the truth even when the truth was slower than anger. Marcus reached down and rested his fingertips briefly against the top of the headstone. Then he straightened. No cameras were waiting. No microphones. No uniforms. No applause. Only wind moved through the trees as sunlight broke between the branches and settled across Evelyn's name. Marcus turned and walked toward the cemetery road. Behind him, the orange remained beside the stone, bright and still in the morning light. He did not look back. He did not need to. For the first time in 6 months, the silence behind him did not feel empty. It felt like something had finally been heard.